And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another week of Divesoft Dive Talks Live. I'm your host, Joe Bosques. Hope everyone's doing well today. It's good to be back on. This week, my guest is the popular Italian open circuit and closed circuit instructor, Beatrice Rivoira. She's an active and renowned TDI technical instructor who teaches open circuit and closed circuit courses around the world. With a master's in marine biology and oceanography, she has made it her mission to inspire the next generation of divers and ocean advocates through outreach programs and with talks at dive shows. Let's see if we can have Matt pipe in Beatrice. Hello. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Hi, Joe. Can you hear me?
Good. Yeah, I can hear you nice and clear. Yeah. So how you doing?
Good, thank you. How about you? How is going on the other side of the ocean?
Oh, we're here in Tampa Bay, Florida, and it looks like lots of sunshine and clear skies. So, good weather. What time is it over there, and where are you in Italy?
Yeah, I'm in Italy in the north right now. It's around 7 o'clock in the evening. So it's almost dinner time for us.
Oh, it's almost dinner time. Yeah, I can hear you got a puppy in the background. He sounds like he's hungry.
He is, I'm sorry. He's really hungry, not really happy about this pose I'm taking from my attention to him.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, sometimes we get the mailman come in. One day I'll have him come and say hello while we're streaming. So
that's okay. That's the beauty of the live streaming.
Right. It looks like there might be a little bit of a delay, so hopefully it'll kind of work out. But I don't think it's a problem right now. But tell our viewers kind of your background and what got you started on the path of diving in marine science.
There is a little delay, but I think we can get over that. We can make it.
Right.
So basically, I started loving the sea really, really young, and I've always loved to swim around with the mask and going under the surface, seeing what was swimming around. But as every kid, I think I was a little bit afraid of the depth. So there was not really an unknown territory. You didn't know what was hiding in there. But at some point, my father started diving again with my brother. And as the younger sister, I couldn't help but wanted to follow my brother's footsteps. Mm-hmm. So I waited a few years, and then I was just joining them during the deco stop and just using their regulator to breathe some air and to enjoy the feeling. And my mom asked me to wait until I was 16 years old, which was a pain, but I did it. And in the end, as soon as I started, I've never stopped from there. So that was really, I'm happy because they've made me start, but now it's all I do, and I couldn't be happier for that.
That's wonderful. And, that really does seem to be such a common theme with the influence of our parents and siblings. It's like a diving family, it's such a social sport and things that we can all do together. So that's really great.
It is that I think that one of the best things of diving is that it can be both as social and it can be social and personal at the same time. You can have both sides with the same activity. So this is one of the things that I really, really love. And more than that, it's that you can really, there's a wide range of topics that just links to diving. We could just spend 24 hours today just talking and never repeating the same things again.
Right. Yeah, no, it's great. We can just always chat, and there's so much to talk about. There's so many disciplines within diving. There's so many applications of it. And, so did you kind of, when you were going in your path of diving, did you, usually it's kind of a big decision to start teaching and to start becoming kind of more of a leadership role. I always tell kind of aspiring instructors that, typically once you become a dive master or an instructor, you start to really realize like, oh man, this is a lot of responsibility. So it's more about responsibility than like developing skills. And what led you to go in that direction of teaching?
Well, I think that as many of us, I've started like working in a diving center during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I was studying during the winter and then working during the summer. And during the winter, I was helping the local club. So basically, as you say, from the dive master point of view, and then from that point going on further on, it's just a matter of responsibility, just rising and rising. And as we always say, you don't know what you don't know. So the more you go on that path, and the more you realize that there's so much that you still don't know, and so many things that you need to experience, that if you are really excited at the very beginning to start teaching, I think that at some point you're like, okay, slow it down a little. There is so much going on here. Maybe I need to train and to study more before doing that. But for me at that point, it became like a natural thing. So basically, I've postponed my instructor exam for a few years at that point, because I was really enjoying just helping people, but I really didn't think like I can take the whole responsibility for the class. And without realizing, I was already doing that. So when I did my instructor class and everything started to work from there, I honestly never thought it was going to be as big as it is now. Not at all. And I'm still with the same feeling. It's like I'm constantly learning. There's still so much to know, so much to experience. It's a never-ending path. Not at all.
That's really good. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's sometimes a lot of folks, when they go through the pipeline, there's just boom, 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 certification. They got certified, and 3 years later they're an instructor. I mean, I know I was a dive master for 4 years before I had a chance to become an instructor. So it's really like a growth in kind of your maturity in diving and whatnot.
It is. I have to say, when I did my advanced open water class, I had something like 50 dives. And right now, it happened a few years ago. I was doing a marine biology class, and I had the list with the people joining the class and with the details, because we needed to organize the dives as well. And I had a bunch of people with like the third degree, like a rescue diver. And the number of dives were something like 15. And that's can't be. There is something wrong with that. So I just hope that the number is wrong. And then you realize that people is not like logging the dives for the training or something like that. So they were more dives in the end, but still not as many as I would have hoped. So people now is just rushing, which is so sad, honestly, from that point of view.
There's so much to experience. Interesting, yeah. It's really interesting, because they're like, well, I want to go diving. Well, I guess the best way to go diving again is to sign up for another class, rather than like, okay, we got certified, now let's go do some dives on our own. And when you see, and it's like a different tree, a different kind of diver that comes from that kind of thing, where they're diving between classes and they're building on that experience. It's like, instructors always want to have students like that, but the reality is most of the time you get rescue divers with 12 dives or 13 dives, bare minimum.
It's true, but it's also that I do agree that it's up to us as instructor to make the new students understand that. They are new to the sport. They want to try new things. They want to explore deeper depths. So it's our mission. It's our responsibility to make them understand that they need to log more dives. They need to make more experience than what they have. It's you cannot pretend that a card is making you a better diver. It's not the card. It's like when you learn to drive. Okay, you pass your driving exam. It doesn't mean that you are able to drive in every condition and every kind of road safely. You need time to learn and to adapt. Or like the sailing license is exactly the same. You get the basic skills now put them in place and make them work before moving to the next step. And that's really up to us and the whole community in the end.
Oh, 100%. It's like like a lot of my kind of time spent with students was in the university, and the students were able to take a course in, say, scuba 1, getting certified, scuba 2, advanced diving, and scuba 3 was like rescue diving, and so they were going back and back and back, kind of stair stepping up the ladder. But at the same time, we had a whole semester for advanced open water class. And so we're in the we're in the water, they're in the water for an hour and a half every week for, I think, 6 weeks. And so, it's a lot of time spent in the water. Now, what's funny is that it didn't necessarily translate to a better diver, though. Because if they didn't have an instructor with them, they would get nervous and they're like, "Oh, I don't know what to do." It's like, of course you know what to do. Like,
yeah, but you can also try to give them purpose. So when I was diving with friends and we were going around, I was already passionate about marine biology even before university. So I was always looking for things. And then we were just organizing, like, let's try to find these animals today. So it was like a hunt. And you just need to find what works for the different people and just make them understand that they need to practice what they've learned and enjoy themselves. It's not a rush. I mean, wrecks are not going anywhere. Caves are not going anywhere. Walls are not going anywhere. So just use what you've learned and enjoy it. I mean, a class is always also some kind of stress for everyone.
Right.
So you're just there learning. You're excited, but it's also like you need to meet expectations and be sure that you are learning correctly and you're applying things correctly. So just enjoy yourself before putting you through these again. It's something that I always hope people try to do more from this point of view. And I have to say, I haven't been doing many seasons now in diving center in the last few years. I've been more, as we were talking the other day, I was just traveling around more than staying in one place. But even doing a whole season in one place and doing so many dives in a few spots, I was encountering so many different situations. It taught me a lot, and I've discovered a lot also from the natural point of view. It's just mind-blowing what you can get from more time in the water than more skills at some point. So go for it. Go for more time, please.
Especially at home too, not even like fantastic destinations. I know we taught our advanced class. We were out in Houston, Texas, and like we always joked, we called it brown water diving. It was a good day. You can see your hands and you can see your feet. But
that's amazing.
We would drive to Florida for a weekend. And I would encourage students to, you need to find out what the local diving is, because you're not going to go to Florida every weekend, or you're not going to be able to travel every weekend. So there is a lot of value in finding out kind of what your local environment, and like being very proficient and getting time in a little pond, or a quarry or whatnot.
It's true. Just think that, I mean, in Italy, most of our country has coastlines. So it's really an amazing place from that point of view. But for many years, I've been diving only in the sea. And really, I think I've started diving in lakes 10 years ago, something more maybe, but not at the very beginning. I was really a sea diver. And
the salty sea water.
Yeah, so it was warm and almost clear, so and full of life and all these kind of things. But when I started diving in the lake, I mean, it was a huge contrast. The environmental features were completely different, and I was diving with my sea undergarments and sea gloves, really thin and everything. So it was a shock. But thanks to the friends that I have, I persisted, and then I changed my equipment and adapt a little bit more. And I started to discover so many places things so different, but still so interesting. And still now, after that, I've started changing my diving environment as much as I could, because it always brings something new to you, and you just need to try new things. From that point of view, there's so much water and environments to explore that is great.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I mean, we get so spoiled. The other day, I have Ginny Springs in the backyard, and so like the other day I was like did an ocean dive, and I was like, oh god, I have to wash the gear. No, get spoiled. Yeah.
Really, really. So now, even with that, you get like perceptions of condition that really change within time. So at some
Hmm.
point for me, I don't know, 5 meter visibility was something like awful. That's awful. You can't die with such a visibility bad like that. And now, as long as I can read my wrist, that's amazing. I mean, it's
Yeah,
a visibility. We can go on. It doesn't matter what we have to do. And even if the visibility is zero, there's always something you can do, and it just makes you grow a lot, and
right.
just helps you getting a better diver, changing environment, changing
And it's
condition.
just fun being underwater. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely. With everything you got, doesn't matter if it's open circuit, closed circuit, side mount, back mount, whatever. Just use
Yeah,
it.
jacket BC, backplate wing. It doesn't matter exactly. If you're diving, that's good.
I remember when I think it was one of my last season in Elba Island. So
Hmm.
at the end of the season, I asked the owner if I could do one dive with a different approach. So basically, I just took a plastic backplate with a small tank on it and no BCD, nothing, no weight
Oh,
belt,
we call
just the
that a
small tank.
James Bond dive.
Yeah, yeah. And I loved it so much. It was so great. I took it really easily. So it was a shallow bottom, nothing dangerous, really relaxed all around. And it was amazing, completely different feeling. So there are
Yeah,
easy things that you can try. And still, as long as you do it safely, as long as you be sure that it's not done in a crazy way, just be sure to have that limit. That there are so many things you can try.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. I did that. We did stuff like that too with the old plastic backplate and the single lens mask, and it was surprisingly very fun and very freeing and everything. So, yeah. So, your background in marine science, marine biology. Did you dive in university? Did you do any work kind of combining scuba diving and marine science at all?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, at university there was a class that was all focused on the different way of taking samples, and so it was always also focused on the scuba equipment and scuba
Hmm.
physiology. Because honestly, many marine biologists are not divers, at least here.
Right. Yeah.
It's not like a
Yeah.
common thing, and most
Even
of
in Florida and Texas. Yeah.
yeah, which is strange from my point of view. But even for us, many of them took the class while at university. So it was their very first approach to diving. And when I was already an instructor when I started with this class, so when we had the chance to go and diving to try collecting samples, I was having so much fun. But
Mm.
the other thing was that I was helping to take care of the other students because we were training, but they were new to the environment, so they also had to focus on other things. But that was great. It was both learning and taking care, something that suit with me. That's fine. And after that, the next year we had a proper research trip. So
Hmm.
we did one in Italy, in the strait between Sicily and the south, and that was mind blowing. Was an amazing area
Wow.
to take samples and everything. All the guys were really comfortable in the water, so we were really focusing on the scientific part. And there were some guys from a diving center that were acting like safety divers. So it was really nice. You could focus on what you were doing. That was amazing. And we did at the very end. We decided to have like a fun dive, and there is this huge wall that goes straight down to 40 meters, and there is current during the night. So if you just jump down the boat and decide to go over this step along the wall and you just let the current takes you, you just drift along this wall with huge gorgonians and fish all around. And it was during the night like a conveyor belt just bringing you. That was really super, super nice. And the whole thing was that it was at the end of a week of intense work of sampling and taking
Oh
data
yeah.
and stuff. But the best one was in Indonesia, I have to say. That was a university project, and
Hmm.
I had never been in that kind of water before. So I was so used to the Mediterranean that when I got there, I was, wow, that's really
So
warm.
what is it, what makes it different? because I haven't been in the Mediterranean or in Indonesia.
So we need to fix that.
Yeah, no, let's
You need
fix
to come
that. Yeah.
here and we'll go for many dives. But yeah, the Mediterranean is colder, is a little bit darker, and the colors are not as bright as long as you don't use the light on them. And it's more like you need to search more for things. While Indonesia is a explosion of colors and critters and everything. Yeah, and strong currents as well. Upwelling currents, downwelling currents, side, everything. So it can be tricky and dangerous even in some places. But it was so, again, for me, that kind of water was so warm and so simple to do things because of that. But still, it was amazing. You could just do the dives from the shore sometimes, and you just had like a coral reef in front of the beach, which for me I was not used to that at all. So that was really, really nice. And we took samples, we took corals and presence data of different species, and we were working with Coralai, which is this research center in Bangka Island in Indonesia, and it was an amazing experience. Actually, it's a center where you can go and be like a voluntary, and I really suggest people to have a look for it because it was great.
So like you're saying, how people can, if they're interested in these types of things, like that they can volunteer for this stuff.
You can contact them and they can arrange a period over there. Then it depends what projects are on at the moment. They were building like nets and this sort of things for making corals grow, so you can help them. It depends what's going on at the moment, but yeah, you can help.
Right.
And that's a really nice way to do it.
I had a lot of students in the school, and they would always ask me, how do I kind of build experience? And I tell people that you have to be a professional unpaid intern. You have to volunteer a lot.
That's absolutely true.
Exactly, especially for marine biology. And so you got to be good at pictures, and volunteer a lot. And so, but eventually it'll pay off.
It will, and the best thing is that if you speak with younger generations, I mean, I work with schools, so like primary schools and secondary schools. I think it's for you, but they are so happy when you show them this kind of pictures and video. They want to know more, and they get so interested in that. So like in one school, the science professor asked me to go back a few times to talk about marine biology, and I made the children do like a small research. So I gave each one a film, and they need to then pick up a card with a name on it, with a species name written on it, and they had to do a small how can I say? It's not a paper. It's like a sign with pictures and drawings and principles.
It's like they have to describe it.
Yeah, they had to describe it their way, and then they were going to present it to the class. And I asked them to look for curiosities. So not only the general data of the animal, like the length and these sort of things, but also strange things. Those things that you keep in mind. And the same things work with diver. What I discovered during the season was that when I was talking about the species, if I was just describing the environment, they wouldn't remember that. Right. But if I was talking about something odd and strange about that species, they will remember it. And so sometimes it's the way to go.
Oh, completely. I know that I used to work at an aquarium in the Pacific in Catalina Island, and people would always ask, what are these bright orange fish? And it was like, oh, that's a Garibaldi. That's the California state fish. And they're like, well, the guy's like a little flag in the water. But the worst thing is, I was like, if you see their nest, and if you move any of those little pebbles on the nest, it's gonna fight you. It's gonna chase you out of there. And underwater in the ocean the interaction with marine life it's unique underwater compared to on the surface. If you see birds, they're far away. Most animals are pretty skittish. And so, the educational outreach is so huge. And, kids, they light up with those types of things. They can feel things. They take in the whole senses of everything.
It's true, but it's also that if you want to share the knowledge, you need to make things interesting. So,
Right.
as you say, we used to, at some point, we tend to specialize in something. So we will go for details and also boring details sometimes, but we know that they are useful for something, so we will learn them. But otherwise, just makes things interesting for divers as well. Just keep them diving with not strange things, but just curiosity about what they are doing. And it doesn't have to relate only to biology. It could be archaeology, it could be physiology, it could be the history of diving, the history of the equipment, whatever you're using. There could be about geology, whatever you think is the best way for the person you have in front of you. There's so much we can talk about in this case, and we shouldn't waste it.
Exactly. And, most diving professionals, instructors, they're educators. And, like you talked about in the beginning of this podcast, is that you have a responsibility. And with kind of teaching and talking and discussing about these types of topics. And so, promoting and encouraging it with students and young folks, and also telling them, okay, well, this is how you can get into this. This is how you can do this type of work. Rather, when folks get certified, they ride the initial excitement of it, and then they stop diving, and then they stop doing, and then they don't dive for 10 more years, and they stay away from the water. It's something that you have to make it a lifestyle.
It is, but it's also, I think we all know diving is like a black hole for time and money and energy. You can't get out of that at some point. It gets really difficult. So it's what I say sometimes to students when they come to me and say, I want to start with technical diving. I'm like, okay, are you ready? Because there's no way back.
How did you get into it? Exactly. So tell us about how you got into kind of technical diving and then into rebreathers, because some people stay in technical diving for a long time but never get into rebreathers.
Well, actually, for me, it was really because of one person. So basically, when I was still doing recreational diving, I was enjoying myself, and I was really skeptical about rebreathers. I didn't know a
Scary
lot.
Black box.
Yeah, I had this feeling that it was something where you had no control over. So I really didn't like the idea. And then I met Gabriele, who then became one of my main instructors. And he's a Navy diver. And he started to talk.
He's done some incredible dives, yeah.
Yeah, he does. He's great. And he started to explain me how the rebreather works and what you can do. And so things started to change a little bit. But he also told me before moving to that, there is much more that you need to know and much more that you can do before that. And so I started my technical path with him, and it's been a never ending since that. And again, between my first experience, I had my first dive in the lake, which was really a change in my type of diving at that point. And because I was feeling comfortable, my consumptions are still pretty low. So even the doubles and everything, I was having so much back from what I was doing in my diving.
You're getting a lot back, yeah.
Yeah, and I just kept going. And the good thing is that I've never really joined a single club, but I just dive with this group and this group and this group and this group. So I had the chance to always have someone I could dive with. And so I had time to gain experience in different areas, different kind of diving. And most of my friends were using rebreather at that point. And I was so jealous when we were diving at the sea, not really for the length of the dive or decompression changes, these sort of things, but because they could get close to animals and they couldn't. Not as close as they could. And so, you get curiosity and everything, and it just came as a natural consequence in the end. And my very first try with the rebreather was not as good because it was really huge harness for me that day. We were in
Oh, yeah.
shallow water, and I was trying to manage the buoyancy with the amount of gas that I needed to be able to breathe and these sort of things. But from the second try was love, but a lot of work. I felt like
Right.
I'm starting from the start again. And it
Yeah,
was like
tell
that.
everybody about how new, especially a lot of instructors, when you go from open circuit to closed circuit, tell the viewers about how much fun that is.
Yes,
The tears.
yeah, a lot of tears at the beginning, really, but good tears. So, for example, you're used to do some kind of dives, really comfortable with yourself. You can manage them.
Yeah.
You can switch gases, plan your dive, and do them with your friends. And at some point, you're there at the diving center. They're going for the 50-meter racks, and you're going for the 10 meters wall to do exercise. And you're like, damn. But again, there's so much to see even in 10 meters that it was always a good balance. But yeah, it took patience. So honestly, that's why I never got rid of the twin set even after that.
Hmm.
Not only because I was teaching, but also because you sometimes it was nice just to go back to it and relax and keeping in shape with that. So never
Oh, yeah.
losing the memory and the training for that. It's a good balance. So you can train from one side and enjoy yourself more on the other. And at some point, they will just merge again. And that is great.
Exactly. It's it's important to keep the twin set and like to be able to go back and forth every once in a while. Especially, it is a skill that you have to keep refreshing on, and so it's not just because you dive on CCR for 2 years in a row and then like you can't go back and do the same kind of diving you're doing on open circuit again.
Yeah, every time that I'm using the rebreather for a long time and then I'm going back to the twin set is, oh my god, this gas is so dry and so cold. I'm not used to that anymore. But it's
How
also
loud it is, yeah.
and loud, a lot of noise. I'm not used to that anymore. But it's also nice. For me, it's always like going back to something that is so natural, that is again relaxing from that point of view. And the good thing is when you, with your rebreather, you get to the same point where you take
Hmm.
it, you put it on, and everything is natural. And I'm not saying always easy, but it's natural. You know perfectly what to do, what to look for, and you just feel comfortable using it.
Right, right. And so you, with regarding like teaching, you've been teaching with rebreathers for quite some time now. How have things like? How do you? What's your process in teaching a new dive? Well, a diver who's getting new to rebreathers.
Well, I think you really need to understand the person that you have in front of you. So they come
Mm-hmm.
with different background, different experience, and different good and bad points as everyone else. So the approach may be slightly different from student to student, but mainly is getting them understand what they have on the back. So they need to understand how the unit works and how this is going to influence your way of diving in the water. And they need to understand that they need to start over. They need to be patient and
Mm-hmm.
they need to give it time. And also, like step by step, making them understand that things change a lot now. And they can change constantly. So for every action that you do, there is a completely different response from the unit depending on the situation you're finding yourself in. So you need to get rid of some habits that you have on open circuit, but at the same time, you don't need to forget them. Because we
Right.
always say, in case of emergency, if you decide to bail out, you're just going back to what you're used to do, and you need to be comfortable doing that. So
Mm-hmm.
first, I want to be sure that they are comfortable with open circuit, with changing regulators and controlling the buoyancy and everything. And then they need to be keen to learn a lot from the theory point of view as well, because you cannot
Yeah.
use the reader just repeating skills as a puppet. Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
can repeat the skills. It doesn't matter that you're really understanding what's going on. So it's slowly and approach from different point of view. I also like to cover a little bit of history and these sort of things, and making
Right.
real example with different kind of units or different kind of situations and this sort of stuff. That's also why I use different units, because you have a comparison. Something that may be perfect for me may not be perfect for you, and vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. So, yeah, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very good how you explain about as really assessing the person and doing it on a very individual level. I remind people that it's an interaction with a machine. It's almost like the machine is alive, and so you have to take care of it, and you have to know what's going on. You need to know, like, this means this or this means that, and you really have to understand the person that's doing the diving. It's hard to put a blanket approach saying everyone can dive on scuba, everyone can dive on a rebreather, and so it's not everybody can do everything. Some people are better at certain things, some people are not very good at, like, I'm very bad at painting. But that's okay. I'm not a painter, like, and so some people are better at other things. And so, but it's important to really assess that with your student, and some people take it personally, but you don't want them to get hurt, you don't want them to have problems. Now they can overcome things and change over time, but maybe they're not where they need to be at this moment in time.
Well, they will change. I mean, as soon as you finish with your class, they can come back for suggestion, or you keep diving together, you keep having them. They get used to the unit, so you stay with them for more dives and these sort of things. But at some point, they will just go on their own way. So they will change mind about a few things. Maybe they will change their approach. It can happen. But as I say, I always like to go to sleep feeling comfortable. So I don't want to feel like I've I don't know how to say, but basically that I've missed something with some students. And if I realize that, I cover that. So at the same
I'll
time,
call them in the middle of the night. Hey, we didn't talk about this.
almost. But yeah, and at the same time, it's really difficult to tell someone, no, it's not time for you to do these things now. And especially when they are former students of yours, when they are, I have students on open circuit that then decide to move to the closed circuit. And sometimes when you need to tell them you need to gain more experience before moving to that, or you need to address this issue, which is a problem for you before taking this step, it's always like they could feel that you don't trust them or something like that, but you do it for them, honestly. And yeah, it's always hard to do. And many times you will lose students for that. But we know how things go. We know that reality is not always fair and things can happen. So yeah, just take the right time and the right pace.
Now, since the time that you started kind of teaching and since you started diving on rebreathers, what kind of changes have you seen with the units?
Well, I think that the most drastic changes happened before I started diving them. So, but I love history about diving. So the changes have been amazing. And even on my first unit, it has evolved so much during time with the electronic, with the sensors, and even the graphic and the handset controls and everything. So we can't deny that technology is moving on, and it's making everything easier from many point of view. At the same time, we risk to rely on that too much.
Right.
So one of those things that I always do is teaching the students how to use the unit manually, completely manually, and I think that it was almost every instructor does, and it's a really good exercise because we rely on the electronic that we have in the unit, but we may find ourselves in a situation where we need to realize if the electronic is working correctly or if there is something that is not working, and you need to be able to get out. We always have to bail out, it's true, but it's also important to understand what's going on. So, and in my case, the units had become a lot more easy to travel with, easy to they've become easier to disassemble, to take care of it. I think there is a little bit more maintenance than before. They are a little bit more fragile from some point of view. You get advantages from the other points, and with the durations of the battery, the accuracy of the sensors, and all this sort of technology had a huge impact on how the unit works now, so that it's almost easy to get the feeling that it's nothing difficult to deal with, I think.
Yeah. I know Neil Pollack last week and I were discussing how people are diving their computer, and I think the rebreather is kind of it kind of echoes the same note in terms of like oh, I'm just going to do whatever the rebreather wants to do, and it's no, you need to know what's going on. You need to what's it called? Trust but verify. You trust the unit, but you want to make sure that like, okay, this is the way that it should be going. Exactly. And the over dependence on technology it's interesting because like what we showed a graphic where you had a diving profile, and the diver got bent, but he was riding the line the entire time. And so it's the same thing with the rebreather. You need to have these mechanisms put in with your behavior of putting in a buffer, of not being at the edge of it. Oh, sensors, it's been 12 months. I need to change them out. And you're going to change out all, with the Liberty 4 sensors, you're going to change out all 4. It's better to rotate them, change them every 3 months, and that change one every 3 months. And that changes kind of the way that the batch is or whatnot. And it's another safety mechanism installed in the technology, I think.
Well, they are going towards this way. I mean, I think that almost every diver on Facebook now have read about human factors, or at least seen something around about them. So all the units are moving towards a point where they try to prevent errors from the user. And with checklist and everything that is going on. But still, at the beginning, my first unit required could be 10 minutes checklist and safety controls before getting in dive mode. And even then, I had a lot of people saying, are you not tired of doing that? Why are you wasting your time doing that? I'm like, guys, we're getting in the water for 3 hours. I can spend 10 minutes checking my unit.
Right.
And since I started with that, now it's so like it's stuck in me.
It's ingrained.
Yeah, it's ingrained, exactly. So now I cannot even think about getting in the water without doing some sort of checklist before. And I agree, human factor is the main point of failures in diving. We cannot. There is always something that you can predict. That's fine, but still, most of the case, it's our fault. And I think that all of us, we've all done mistakes, even bad mistakes sometimes. So we're happy.
It's lessons. You have cheap lessons, and then you have some expensive ones.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Do you see kind of rebreathers being, they're really your primary mode of diving in?
Generally speaking, I would say yes. But it's also true that it depends on what kind of diving we're going to do. So all the open circuit, back mount, side mount, rebreather diving, they are all tools. So depending on what kind of work you need to do and what the conditions are, you're choosing the best tool for the job. But for now, I would say for my kind of diving, the rebreather is definitely my main tool for this kind of job. That's for sure. Both from the fun point of view or the scientific point of view, working point of view, that certainly it gave a huge push to the dives that I can do. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I really think diving the rebreathers, it's a paradigm shift. It completely changes the way that I would set up, collecting data underwater, cave diving, any type of technical diving. The rebreather is an excellent tool, but it is still a tool, just like side mount, just like, even diving in a jacket BC, it's a tool for a particular kind of diving.
It is, and as that, you should pay the right attention and taking the right maintenance, taking the correct training, and maintaining the training. So yeah, it's not like what I don't understand sometimes is that for some people, going to dive rebreather is like the final point. Is like
Right.
I
The
want to
apex
go
of
and
it.
dive.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like I want to go and dive a CCR. Yeah, that's fine. But why? Why do you want the
Hmm.
CCR? What do you want to see? What do you want to use it for? So it's true that sometimes you try some new equipment just for the sake of trying it. It's
Right.
okay. But when you're investing energy and money and time, I think you should have something more in front of that. Not just saying, "Hey, I'm a rebreather diver. I can use it." Just use it for something.
I
Even
mean,
if
I gotta admit, it does look cool, right? Half the folks we dive it because it looks cool, right? And it's got, the Liberty's got the bright green light. That's my favorite part. That's why
it's true. It does look cool. I mean, it's like uh, it, there is this macho thing, this Superman thing
yeah.
sometimes with all the equipment, like astronaut. No, it's the closest thing
Uh-huh.
you can be to an astronaut sometimes, as people says. And I agree with that. It's true. It's undeniable. But at the same time, I think that a slightly different goal will help you to look at it in a better way. I don't know how to
Right.
describe it, but I want
Yeah,
to
you
use
have
it
to
for
take a step back and you have to
yeah,
really evaluate it.
yeah.
Hmm.
So just to make an example, I don't remember now the exact year on which that video came out, but I saw a video done by Razor in the Bahamas for the caves.
Hmm.
And when I saw Pan's Labyrinth and Glass Factory video,
Oh
I
yeah.
was stuck. Guys, I want to go there. I definitely want to go there and I want to dive it like this. So the next years, I did everything I had to go there and dive them safely. But it was this goal for me was looking at those caves, looking at the formation and everything, and the tools that I had to use and the skills that I had to learn were pointed towards that goal. So, but I also understand that that's my way of seeing things. People could have different opinions.
Oh, completely. It's funny now. I feel like nowadays we see new cave videos almost every week, which is I think is incredible because 10 years ago, a cave video was a big deal, and it's just like exploding in speed in terms of like content that people are able to create through scuba diving. And I'm really curious of what's the impact that that's going to have on terms of getting new and young people to the sport.
I agree. I think it's really it's a double side thing. So
Double-edged sword, yeah.
yeah, it can get attention from people, so they will get interested in the sport and in discovering something new, in learning something new. At the same time, as often been said, you just see the peak of the iceberg. You don't
Right. Yeah.
see all the hard work that it's beyond
The
that.
years and years of diving to get there.
Yeah, all the energy spent, all the failures, all the mistakes, everything that you've went through to do this kind of dive safely and getting that result. So I think it's amazing because even for me, all the internet has been a huge help because it gave me the chance to get in contact with people I otherwise wouldn't have know how to get in contact with. So to
Hmm.
go with my training, so people that for me were like names in a book or faces on a documentary. And then the internet made it so easy to reach these people, to talk with them, and to follow what they were doing, and that's great. That's amazing. At the same time, you could get like too rushed in wanting things, wanting to reach things.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, you
yeah,
can rush through things too quickly, and yeah, that's where problems happen. So
as we were saying, when you want everything now and I want everything
I
quick,
want that 2 day shipping. The 2 days already taking too long.
exactly. It's exactly like that. But I think diving is not the only sport with this kind of difficulties sometimes, but
Yeah, yeah.
it gives you so much back. And I don't think there would be another sport that I would be able to invest so much energy and time in. Maybe yes,
Right.
maybe climbing, maybe.
I used to be really into climbing, and or a couple weeks ago, Paul Toomer had such a great example about mountain bikers, and was talking about it's scuba diving is an interesting sport in terms of how the community kind of engages within itself. A lot of like, oh, you wear split fins, or you dive a Jack in BC. I'm not going to talk to you. You should get this regulator because it's so much better than this regulator. And I don't dive with anybody that doesn't wear blue. And there's some weird parts of the sport that kind of keep people out of it compared to other sports where people like mountain bikers, they're just going mountain biking. And once if we overcome those things, then we'll run away with it, I believe. But we'll get back to growing in the sport, and I think the sport has been growing a lot. There's more people technical diving than I think there ever have been, but it's Ginny Springs, I see it full of young, like more young people than I used to, and I'm also seeing more rebreathers with those young people too. And so that's kind of, I think it's crazy to me seeing the 21-year-old with the brand new CCR and an XK scooter. I was like, how did that happen?
I agree with that. But still, I think you remember as well. At some point, it was really difficult to see someone on the same boat with our breeder. It was like, oh, look at what that guy's have on his back. It's
big deal, yeah.
How does it work? He's a really tough guy, so it must be really know what he's doing. And now it's just, oh, there's someone with open circuit. Really? Like we almost got to the other side of that.
Yeah.
And of course, times are changing. Diving is changing, and I would never say that all times were better and actual times are worse. I think there are good sides and bad sides on both. So we shouldn't forget what the whole times taught us and what were the important key points over there. But at the same time, we need to understand that technology has moved on, and even the training has moved on a lot. I mean,
right.
The actual open water class that I do right now is a lot different than what I did when I started, because we know more. We know better for some point of view. It just depends how you decide to put that in action. We know more. That's it. But it's our duty to use it the right way. So I wouldn't blame younger generation for doing what they are doing right now, because we got example from older generations.
Right.
So maybe we should try to collaborate more between the two at this point.
No, that's a good point, and that that's a rabbit hole we can definitely go down. Is that we do learn, like I'm not sure how much kind of younger people or younger generation of folks really pay attention to kind of the history of it, but we did learn from older generations. And when I hear some of the horror stories from some of my older instructors, they're like, oh yeah, on every dive we did a dive on CCR, something was broken. And it's like, oh, that's terrible. I can't imagine like the Liberty is working great for me, and it's like I can't imagine it having a problem. But and that's because I'm very meticulous with maintenance. I'm with all this, but to expect it to be broken, it's like it's a very different perspective.
Yeah.
And
But I also have to say, my really first unit, the first I ever bought, was a really old unit and used one, and I honestly had one or two problems every dive at the very beginning. So it was not good from that point of view. But at the same time, my training was conducted in such a way that we were always taking care of the problems. And I learned so much taking care of the unit. Because as we say, when everything goes well, when everything goes smooth and perfect, you're learning. But if there's something that doesn't work, I think you're learning more. So we learn from mistakes. And we always hope that you fail fast and fail soon and often. when you got a safe environment where you can fail in, because it teaches you more. We need perfect practice, that's fine, but we also need to realize that things can go wrong. And when they do, you need to know what to do, or at least react in the best way you can. We always know someone that had never had a problem for, I don't know, many years of diving, and suddenly something happens and they quit the sport because they can't handle it. So
it shocks them out of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't wish that to anyone. I wish that people can fail safely and fast and often, so you can learn and make everything safer and better for you. I read a comment before we were talking, but someone says that there was no point in diving if you couldn't come back to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I mean, we always want to come back. Again, there is nothing worth dying for over there.
Right. So looking at wet rocks.
Yeah, I love looking at wet rocks, but I want to go back and come back again to look at those wet rocks again, and finding, I don't know, small details that I haven't seen the first time. So yeah, that's everything we can do to learn more. We should go for it.
Completely. And, to kind of take something from like, you want to build resilient divers. It's not so much like you want to have a perfect dive every dive, which we all do in a perfect world, but to build resilient mechanisms of like, okay, we can handle the problems. This problem is not a catastrophic, it's we can recover from it. We just bail out and go home. And so you do all the work preventing the problem up until you have that problem. It's like I say, it's in prevention rather than like, I never practiced bailing out. So the first time I had to bail out I really had to. And so, you're not very prepared for it. And so, yeah, exactly.
That's true. I mean, it's reality. Things happens. You cannot control everything. We try, we train for that, but we cannot do it 100%. Something may happen, and it just depends on how you're going to react to it. And I think that if you talk to any diver that been in the diving industry for many years, they could make you a never-ending list of small errors and mistakes, or situations where they were not comfortable, but they went through, and even sometimes those like catastrophic situations, sometimes it happens, and you're able to cope with that anyway, or sometimes not. So it's always learning, but of course it doesn't match well with the everything soon and everything now, like from Europe, as we say.
As long as we keep a kind of an air where people can talk about it, it's interesting to see when you have one person describe like, I had a DCS hit, or I had a hit at this time on this dive, and then people are like, that got me too. And then like people, the gates spill, and people start saying they feel more comfortable to be able to talk about it versus being reprimanded, and have your reputation get hurt from like, oh, Joe got DCS. How good of a diver can he be if he got bent? And so it's if you can talk about it, then we can learn from it. Mm-hmm.
It is. And I mean, the work that Garrett is doing around this thing is great, is amazing. And I think it's really something that we all should support, because it's really making our community safer from that point of view, or at least it's trying to make it safer. And it can be just good. I mean,
yeah. So like how you're saying how your rebreather used to have issues with it in your first one. How's it changed from the units that you're diving today?
A lot.
Yeah.
It's evolved a lot. Yeah. Everything is more modular. There is more electronic in it. Even the sensor are working on a finer scale, and the whole technology around the unit has improved a lot. And at the same time, I was able during the years to try different units, and to not just to have a quick dive with one, but just using it for more dives and just getting hours on them. And you realize that so many units have gone through a real evolution of the project. And I think we lost you, Joe, so I'll just keep talking. I will just go on. And it's nice that the picture that you're showing right now, Matej, at the booth, because actually I met you guys, I think the Liberty was not out on the market yet when I met you the first time, and you were just talking to us about this project that you had, and it was so interesting. I was diving my other unit at the point. Hey, here you go.
Keep talking. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I met you guys many years ago, and the whole road that you've taken since then, it's amazing. You've done wonderful things with all your product. It was really a surprise. It has changed a lot. I remember the first prototypes that you showed us, and I mean the development is sometimes you can see it from year to year, but when you just take a picture from like 8 years back to now, you can see it, and it's amazing. So same thing with the materials, which are now better and lighter and stronger sometimes, and the ability of the manufacturer to cope with things. Everything made a huge difference for the diving community. And I mean, we can see the result now. Rebreather are all over the place.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Sorry, it's like I got with the cutout, like I jumped in the middle of the conversation, but like at least the viewers were able to see and appreciate that, Divesoft it's I always joke that like, man, there's so many changes and they're growing so fast, and there's so many updates that, my unit, it's 4 years old, and I'm like, oh no, I need to update it. It's getting antiquated, And so that innovation is so important for this industry, and that's going to keep the development growth and keep it going. And, it's the dive industry. I always joke that it's pretty small. Like there's few places where you can, reach out to someone on Facebook and you'll be talking with the person that's actually working on the gear, or, that's making a lot of the decisions, or people that you see at the shows and whatnot. And so that type of investment in the people is really important.
It is, and the nice thing is that you use your products. So it's not like it's someone just on the desk saying, okay, I can change that. This looks better. This looks nicer, or I can read this one better. You're actually using your products in the water. So you listen to your guests and clients, which means that there is this positive feedback between what the people are experiencing with your units and what you're going to do to help people. And as with everything on some roads, sometimes you fail, sometimes you succeed. So you just pick when you succeed and just keep going. When you fail, you just change, go back and try another way. And I think that this is a great thing in the industry right now. There is so much development going on with a feedback from the field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's, I always joke that it's like, okay, well, I'll see you at the dive site then, and so it's, so to kind of, close everything out, what advice do you have for folks that are kind of aspiring to be a professional diver, to, kind of make a living in their passion?
It's nice because it's something I've been asked about many times. And I still think that there are many different ways to reach that. So to make diving, to keep doing diving for a living, and you just need to have a look around, seeing where you want to stay, what your country's features are, what kind of work do you have around you, and what do you prefer to focus on. Because there are so many applications for diving. It's not just sport diving. It's not just during the season in a diving center. There are so many, and so many. Again, so many topics are related to diving that I keep saying, just do not fix on only the training manual. Expand your view, learn about physiology, learn about sailing, learn about meteorology, geology, biology, marine biology, oceanography, find, or sometimes even archaeology. So just find just try to have a look around for all these things, even psychology, and then find those fields that the best suit you, and try to work in that area. And as you said, you're not going to work for money. You're going to work because you like it, and probably the beginning will be no money at all, or even just enough to survive. But if you want to do it, just do it seriously. So put all your
Commit
energy.
to it, yeah.
Yeah, and again, as we've been saying for the whole chat, actually, just take your time. There was a really nice note written from Becky a few years ago about the importance of getting experience and time in the water. And she shared that a few months ago now, or a few weeks ago. And it says the same thing. So not to rush, just take the time you need, gain experience, try different things, and never stop learning. Never. You need to keep learning for you, for yourself, for your student, and just follow your passion the best way you can. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. Don't think it's going to be easy, and don't think it's going to be a holiday because it's this kind of job, because it's not. It's hard and demanding and important, because you're going to take responsibility for people's lives. So do it with all the passion and seriousness. Is that a word? Okay.
Yeah, seriousness. Yeah.
And enjoy yourself in the process as well.
Yeah, enjoy the climb, right? Anything worth doing isn't easy. So otherwise everyone would do it.
Yeah, and last thing I would say, look over your borders. So I find it, maybe it's that for everyone, but especially in Italy, I've always find it difficult to bring people abroad unless it was like an organized holiday. But we got different countries, different approaches, different environments. So you can really learn from everyone. Even with the instructor, choose different instructors. Never stick with only one, because they will have different approaches and different experience, and you can learn from all of them. And do not go just for the cheapest or the closest one to you. Make a choice.
Right.
Choice. Make a research.
You're investing in yourself. So, don't be cheap.
No, it's your life. I mean, what's more precious than that? Nothing.
Exactly.
So
cool.
But keep going. Do not give up.
Great words. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very happy to have you, and we look forward to seeing you next time soon. Hopefully, we'll get you to Florida to come soon as everything opens back up, and we can go do some cave diving.
Absolutely. I'm missing Florida caves. They're in my heart, and I love them deeply. I want to come back and have that warm water and crystal clear water that just waits for you to get back. Together with the effort of getting in, which is not the best part, but it's still part of the game, and it's nice in the end.
Exactly. You got to earn it, right?
Yeah. Nothing that is worth fighting for comes easier.
Right, exactly. So
great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for everyone that tuned in. We love seeing the folks' comments and likes, and be sure to share this video and share it with everyone else too.
I hope they enjoy themselves, and we're here. Just whatever they want to know, just write. I hope to see them back in the water as soon as we can.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll see you back in the water soon, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye.